All right. What's up, world? Truth or Lie Thursdays. Once again, question number 2. We got a question that says, I just don't understand how being invited to perform your gospel song on the secular stage is so bad. Okay. So the answer to this, number one, you can only change the environment if you refuse to follow the world. The world and the kingdom of God are pretty much opposed to one another. And when you really follow God, it brings persecution. It doesn't bring praise and acceptance. The scriptures in John 7:7, it says, the world cannot hate you, but me it hates, because I testify of it that the works thereof are evil. So when you are really bringing God's message, you're going to have to testify that the works that the world does are evil. And so when you do that, the world is going to hate you. So if the world loves you too much, it's probably because you're not giving the gospel. John 15:18 also says, if the world hates you, you know that it hated me before it hated you. John 15:19 said, if you were of the world would love his own. But because you are not of the world, I have chosen you out of the world, therefore the world hates you. And then 1 John 3:13 says, marvel not, my brethren, if the world hates you. So if the world or an ungodly organization is inviting you to perform, your work or whatever, your gospel, then it's probably some kind of compromise being done there, and it's something that's not really, it doesn't really work out that well. Number one, a lot of times with people who do that, they have to water down and change the message in order to get that invitation. So right there, you know that if you're giving a watered down message, it's not really the gospel. So a lot of times people that strike it big and get this fame for God, usually they have to water down the message first and basically reject God's word to them in order to get that acceptance from man. And it's not scriptural. Biblically, there's another example. It's called the doctrine of Balaam. If you look at the doctrine of Balaam, Balaam was someone who spoke the truth, but he did it employed by a wicked king. Okay, and so he did it for money. God kept trying to warn him not to do it. He said and Balaam thought he was good because he kept saying the truth. He kept saying the word of the Lord. But God warned him not to follow the wicked king. It's not just important what you say. It's important the authority that you come under as a believer. You can't come under the authority of an ungodly ministry to do ministry. And that's nothing wrong with having a secular job or whatever, but when you come into doing ministry, it has to be sacred, and it has to be set apart, and it has to be holy. And so what ended up happening with the doctrine of Balaam is that wicked king used Balaam, even though Balaam said nothing wrong. The wicked king used Balaam to get the children of Israel to stumble. Okay, and so that's the end of the doctrine of Balaam. What it does, it actually corrupts the people of God more than it spreads the gospel. So you can say all the good things you want, you can speak the word of the Lord, but if you're doing it under the authority of an ungodly organization or an ungodly company, then it's being perverted and it's being corrupted. Last thing is what Jesus said about it. In Matthew 23, when you compromise to preach the gospel, or you're a hypocrite, or you're an actor, or you're a performer, and you compromise with the gospel, you get compromised fruit. And Jesus said that the Pharisees were hypocrites, and they traveled land and sea to get a proselyte or a convert. And when that convert, when they won that convert, the convert became twice the son of hell as they were. So those are very strong words from Jesus. If you're a performer of the word, but you're not living the word, if you're an actor in real life or a hypocrite, doesn't matter how many people you reach, doesn't matter how far you go or how much you invest in reaching them, they're going to hell twice as fast as you. And that's what Jesus said. That's how Jesus described it. So when you compromise and you give up the truth in order to perform the truth and have a performance of the truth, you're basically a hypocrite. and anybody you reach, they're basically just twice the son of hell as you are. So it's important that Jesus sees through all that stuff, and it's important basically that the body of Christ, we see through that as well, and that we try to focus our hearts on reality, and instead of just hypocrisy and being on stages in front of the world and all that good stuff, or all that bad stuff, I should say. So keep your ministry holy, keep your ministry set apart, and if the gospel, you're really preaching the gospel, that's going to have an effect, but it's not going to have the effect that you want for fame or for the glory of man. The world is actually going to hate you for spreading the true gospel of God.